Ms. Lakshmi Chandrasekharan is Senior Managing Director and Chief Human Resources Officer at Accenture India. She is responsible for leading the human capital strategy and enabling 300,000 plus people in Accenture India to be successful, professionally and personally. Ms. Lakshmi enjoys mentoring young people, especially young women from diverse socio-economic backgrounds at their early career stages. She is regularly featured on Business World People's list of most influential women in HR and has also been recognized among top HR thought leaders in the country.
Thank you so much, Ganesh, and thank you so much for finally deciding to come back after lunch. There's still a few of you missing, I think, but when I was invited to speak about mentoring, leadership, with all of you, I was extremely excited to know that this was a topic even on your on the very, very well thought through, curated agenda for the day, because as you start your professional careers, I think mentorship is something it's going to play a very, very critical role, whether you like it or not, in your careers, in your lives as you move from here. But since we are doing this immediately after lunch, and I think they put me here after lunch in the hope that I would not put them to sleep. But let's start with a couple of questions for you, if I may. Can someone confirm that where I need to point this? Yeah? Or here? Okay. Oops. I think we moved. Do you have pen, paper, pad, iPad, something, or even your phone, if you can take it out, and write down a reflection for yourself? You don't have to talk to your neighbor. By yourself. Are you a mentor or a mentee today? Yet. So when I say, are you a mentor, maybe to someone, to a younger sibling, maybe to somebody in your college, a junior in your college, are you a mentor to someone today? And are you a mentee in a mentoring relationship already today? Someone who is that one person, if you can name for yourself, who has helped you become who you are today, to the point that Ganesh was making earlier. It could be someone who challenged you, someone who guided you, but someone who believed in you, fundamentally, who believed in you. Can you write that person's name down? This is an important task I want you to do, and if you're struggling, let me share with you a personal story, right? One of the earliest and most influential lessons that I learned was from my father. My father was one of those really traditional, stoic Indian men, would not show his expressions much, would hardly say too many words. So anytime he said something, my sister and I would pay attention to. He was also very deeply religious, and so therefore he would quote this verse from the Bhagavad Gita and tell me an important lesson. The quote was, Karmanye vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbu Mate Sangosta Karmani. What does it mean? Essentially, very loosely put, it means you have the right to your actions. Meaning, you better do your job well. Do it well, do it with sincerity, do it with thoroughness, give it your 100%. But don't think that you have the right to the fruits of that action. Now, this is his belief, which he passed on to me. That has shaped my life, that has shaped how I approach my career, that has shaped how I approach all my relationships. I try teaching my son. My son is probably as old as all of you here, most of you here, he's about 23. Most days he does not listen, as I'm sure is the case with all of you. Some days he listens, so this is how mentoring happens, right? It passes down, and it's not just limited to professional lives, as you were saying, Ganesh, but also in your own personal life. I'm sure there's some person or some moments in your life where something like this has happened to you as well. You may not give the name mentoring to that relationship today. It may be you say it's my father, it's my cousin, it's my aunt or somebody. But that person has played a significant role in shaping who you are. The person you are today sitting in that 10th row on the 3rd column here. Yeah? And that is how I define mentorship. Mentorship is not just what you get in terms of career advice and support, but it's someone who has shaped who you are, who has helped you bridge the gap between who you are today and your potential. That is what fundamentally is a mentor. So it can be someone at work, it can be someone in your college, it can be someone, a teacher, a professor. So the question I always ask myself three questions around mentorship. I'm going to share with you each of those three questions and share with you my experiences and perspectives based on my journey. So there's no right or wrong, it's just my journey. So take it with that pinch of salt, see what you make of it, and make it your own in your own way. So let me start with the first question. Is a mentor that one person only that Ganesh was referring that you have in your life who can be your trusted advisor? One person. Write down your answer to that question in that same place you wrote down who that one mentor is for you. Take a moment to reflect on this question. Is the mentor one person you go to for everything? My submission to you is, just the way families act as mentors as you're growing up. It could be your parents, it could be your sibling, it could be your cousins, it could be friends, it could be your teachers, it could be your professors in college. All of them unconditionally have been focused on improving who you are, helping you take those choices, make those decisions that have brought you to this stage you are today, doing an MBA. They know what your strengths are, they know what your non-strengths are, and they're able to give you some suggestions on how you may want to guide yourself to achieve the aspirations you have for yourself. Yeah? So therefore, a mentor who is able to help you bridge that gap, and that could be anybody. And you may not ascribe the word mentor to them, but when you move to a corporate world, mentorship becomes a little more intentional. People are not automatically going to give you unconditional support, unconditional guidance, unconditional coaching. That's not going to happen. It's a lot more intentional. And sometimes the initiation of that relationship needs to happen by you. You have to seek out mentors. You have to seek out mentors, and my submission to you is, there's no need to have just one mentor. In fact, I would suggest you have a personal board of mentors that is unique to you, based on what your needs are. You could have different mentors for different facets. Are you trying to kind of think about how you must, what skills you must build? Are you thinking about what may be the community impact you're going to have? Are you thinking about how you want to, where do you want to live and grow your careers? Are you thinking about starting a business of your own? You will need different sort of mentoring for different aspects of your aspirations. So form your own personal board of mentors, and that can be from amongst the faculty members that you've interacted with, that can be from the community you live in, that can be from amongst the friends you have. It could be an elder person in your family who's running an organization of his or her own. It could be anyone. But for that, you need to be very skillful at networking. And that's what you see on this slide. Do you see those three concentric circles? Start drawing them on your paper. Draw three, put yourself in the center. Put your name. My name is Lakshmi, so I put Lakshmi in the center, and draw three circles around it. What are these three circles? If, like me, you're very shy and don't like to network naturally, put everybody you know into these circles. And you can call them whatever, from the outermost circle to the innermost. You can call the outermost circle audience, perhaps. You have the middle circle, which is acquaintances. And then you have the intimates, and then you have you. Three circles. Map everybody who's connected with you. Perhaps you're on LinkedIn, perhaps you're following someone. You don't know the person really, but you're connected somehow. Put them on the outermost audience. The next circle are people with whom you have some level of personal connect. Maybe you go to the gym together. Maybe you hang out in a sports club together. People you know, people you spend some time with, some connection. Look at your batchmates. Even amongst your batchmates, there'll be some people you know very well, and some people you know he or she's from this department. Those are his strengths. Yeah, you know of, but you don't know them intimately. That's your second layer. And the inner one are the nearest to you, the most intimate ones. These are the people you can call up at 4 a.m. in the morning if you're awake and you need help, and they will show up. Doesn't matter. You can say whatever it is a trust-based relationship. Those are intimate. If you map your people, then you know where to direct your efforts. See, mentoring is a relationship in which you need to invest. Both individuals need to invest. You need to invest as a mentor and as a mentee. Both individuals need to invest. So mapping these people into these circles, then deciding how much time I'll spend with people who are acquaintances versus intimates versus audience. Today, 80% of our time is on social media. My submission to you is that is the audience that you're spending time with. Not necessarily your acquaintances, not necessarily your intimates. So think about where you want to invest the time in. As you invest time, people will start moving from audience to acquaintance to intimates. And then determine what do you want to leverage that mentoring relationship for. Imagine you have 100 people in your intimates, getting advice from 100 people. Can you imagine how stressful that can be? 100 people with 100 points of view on you. So you don't want to do that. So you want to decide from amongst your intimate circle who is your mentor and what attributes should you look for. So here's my submission to you on what you should look for. For me personally, in a mentoring relationship, trust is very, very important, and that's why you see this trust equation I'll talk to you about in a bit. Trust in the sense that if Ganesh is, if you're my mentor, I need to be comfortable with you to say whatever it is on my mind without being worried about, are you going to judge me? Are you going to assess me? Are you going to put a label to me? Yeah? That's what I mean by trust. But for different situations, you will need different mentors. If you're faced with a very difficult decision in your life, you need someone who's not going to judge you, who is going to listen to you, offer you some constructive criticism. But if you're in a brainstorming session, right, you have this great idea of a startup, then you need someone who's going to give you alternate perspectives, someone who will do a black hat thinking and poke holes, or who will do a white hat thinking and give you more ideas perhaps. So you need different mentors. Or if you're looking for career advice, then you need someone who's going to challenge you. Are you taking a risk or not? At the stage of your career, you should absolutely, each one of you, take risks. You may not be able to take risks later, but someone who can challenge you. What are the opportunities in this job? What are the gaps you have? Someone can challenge you. So you need very different kind of a mentor when it comes to, say, a career choice conversation. Or if you're faced with a failure, then what do you need? You need someone who can share their stories of failures, how they have dealt with, someone who you can be vulnerable with, share your feelings, share your thoughts. They will also share. That's how you will grow. Because ultimately, this mentoring relationship, to the point that you were making, Ganesh, is about growth, personal growth, both in your personal lives as well as in your professional lives. Yeah? And so therefore, look at this equation. This is an important one for you to write down. There are 4 components of this equation, 3 in the numerator, 1 in the denominator. Trust in a relationship builds when there is credibility of the individual. You get what you see. There is reliability. You do what you tell you will do. The third one is intimacy. The other day, last week, there was a colleague of mine who had reached out a month back to get some career advice. She was feeling lost, unable to navigate our complex organization. I don't know if you caught on to the introduction. Some of you were not there when the introduction was going on. I work for a company called Accenture, and I'm the India CHRO. We have about 350,000 people, roughly, in India. And so it's quite a complex organization, and this was a very senior person who said, I don't know how to go from here. How do I navigate this? I want a role in security consulting, but I am being asked to do some proposal writing. And that's not what I want to do. How do I navigate this? So I gave her some suggestions. My expectation as a mentor would have been that once you have done what I've asked you to do, meet up with 3 people, come back and tell me. She missed that very important step. She forgot to tell me. And she was continuing to feel lost, not showing, and she was thinking of quitting Accenture. So that was the conversation I had with her last week. I said, why were you trying to solve this by yourself? And I actually scolded her. I could scold her because my relationship had that level of intimacy. You can't scold someone that you don't have an intimate relationship with. So it's important in that relationship to have intimacy where you can say what's on your mind. And the bottom, in the denominator, what you see, is self-orientation. I don't know if you can read the wordings from back there. It's credibility plus reliability plus intimacy divided by self-orientation. If you approach a mentoring relationship only with what's in it for me, then that is self-orientation. And all of you here have some level of quant in your syllabus, right? So you understand what this means. Anything in the numerator goes up, trust goes up. Denominator goes up, trust goes down. Right? So remember this. This is an important equation for you to remember, because if you have trust, you will get something out of the relationship, not just as a mentee, but even as a mentor. And this is important as you continue your growth as a leader, once you join a firm or you start something on your own. You will continue to need this in any relationship that you have at work. And the point that Ganesh was making, you cannot, in today's world, cannot achieve success by yourself. You have to have an army of people around you that can help you, and this relationship will help you in every single relationship. But that kind of brings me to the last point, and then we can pause to take your questions. How are these two related, leadership and mentorship? Leadership for me is very simple. It's not just about leading your function, delivering value, getting the profit, generating the revenue. No, it is also beyond that, giving back, lifting people as you rise, making sure you're developing the next generation of future leaders. And what we believe at Accenture, and what I believe personally as well, is you are a leader sitting where you are today. You are a leader. As a student, you're a leader. Why? Because you're having to lead yourself. All of you have to lead yourself. Lead yourself to become better versions of yourselves, add value to yourself, to the community, to the company. Tomorrow, each one of you is going to be, 10 years from now, you all are going to be in leadership positions. That is what you have to aim for. So imagine yourself 10 to 15 years. It's not too far off, trust me. 10 to 15 years from now, when you're going to be leading teams, leading functions, leading businesses, leading organizations, you start by leading yourself first. Then you start leading others in your team. And it doesn't have to be somebody who's reporting to you. It can be your classmate who's sitting next to you. Have you thought of mentoring your classmate, your batchmate? Do you think they'll value what you say? Think about it. You can actually make a big difference to peers. Peers make a lot of difference to me. When I started off in XLRI, I did not know the 130 students in my class. But every single one of those 130 students in my batch, 130 students in my senior batch, 130 students in my next batch, 130 into 3. Imagine that. Nearly 400 people. All of them can potentially be my mentor and have been mentors in some shape and form through the last 25 years of my career. Anytime I'm in a dilemma or in a pickle, I pick up a phone, ask them, help is just a phone call away. That is the power. If you have invested in those relationships with instead of seeing what's on your social media, have you invested in the person sitting next to you? And helping that person become a better version of himself or herself. That is what leadership is about, and it starts with mentoring. And does not have to be once you have become a vice president in an organization. No, it starts today with each one of you sitting in the room. So those are my 3 questions for you. So if you haven't answered them yet, write down the answers. Is it just one mentor, or do I have a board of mentors? What do I seek in a mentoring relationship? How can I become the mentor I seek? That is true leadership for me, and that is in a mentoring relationship. So with that, let me open it up to you and to the questions in the audience.
Yeah, a couple of questions.
Of course.
I'm assuming all of them are about to or anxious to find a job or excited to find a job. I'm assuming for them, for all of you, the first role a mentor can do is to help you find the job that you dream about, right? And then, of course, to succeed in it. If I were a student, the first question I would ask you is, but where do I find this mentor? Where are they manufactured, really, you know? Where do I find one? How do I know that this person will even be interested in me? Because I need to ask, I'm afraid to ask. I don't know whether they will help. Any suggestions on how can they actually crack that first step to find someone?
Yeah. In fact, I had one more slide which I didn't quite share. If you see the first word over there, it is seek. What is the worst that can happen? The person can say, no, I do not have the bandwidth. So I've had a lot of situations where people have reached out to me and saying, can you be my mentor? And I said, I can't, because I already have as many mentors as I can take. Most organizations, most progressive organizations, have a structured framework available. I can share my personal example. We've invested in building this platform called I Aspire, where individuals can actually put down what are they seeking mentoring on. So they can sign up to be a mentee, or they can say, I want to mentor somebody on a particular skill set, or it could be technical, it could be industry, it could be functional, whatever have you. So most organizations, if you're looking to join, will have a structured environment in which you can actually go in and seek, and there will be matching. The technology is quite advanced, and they can match the supply demand, so to speak, supply of mentors and the demand for mentors with the mentees seeking, so it is automatically mapped as well. In the absence of if you join an organization which does not have a technology enabled solution, ask the person you report into.
Yeah.
Ask the HR person in the group that is supporting you. Like I said, the worst that can happen is you don't find, but imagine if you never asked. This is the worst option, asking and being told no, or not asking and still not getting help. So always seek out mentors. You will be surprised. I have been surprised by the number of people who are willing to help you. All you need to demonstrate is some initiative, intent needs to be clear. What are you seeking mentoring on? Don't be vague. Be specific about what your ask is. What are you looking for mentorship on? And like I said, remember, self-orientation is important, but if it increases beyond a certain level, that trust relationship never forms. So be very clear what your ask is, what you're seeking mentoring on, and then it's always hardest to make that first step. But I'm sure there's somebody from your, some senior from your college in that organization. Some senior from your college in a different organization who knows somebody in your organization. There are always, like I said, that network is very important. Map the people, don't lose connections, invest in those relationships. It will help you find another person, another connection. I don't have the phone number of all my batchmates, but I know someone who has. And that's how the connection happens, that's how the networking happens. And if you're from the same institute, help is very, very forthcoming as well.
I would suggest definitely your seniors, especially those who are working in different industries, maybe your college professors. As Lakshmi said, I think mentoring need not be an open-ended, long-term relationship. It can even be one question. You want to post somebody, right? You met online. You can say, I have this question for you. Can you give me an answer? Or can I speak to you for 15 minutes on this one doubt I have on whether I should do this? I think today people are quite open to giving someone 15 minutes time for one conversation.
Yes.
I think the worst, as you said, is that they can ignore your mail, they can reject you, or perhaps say, this seems to be an interesting question, I learn something from asking. Quite often mentors actually learn a lot from mentoring, which is why they choose to mentor.
Yes.
So my sense is at this stage in their career, I think mentors can play a big role in making the right career choices, not the one who pays you the highest, but the one that suits you well. Knowing more about what it takes to succeed.
Yeah.
And clarifying some questions about which you don't know enough. I think those would be the important things.
Absolutely. Because I'm sure there are a lot of questions on your mind as you're thinking about what to do first. What company should I join? What job should I take up? If I have a choice between two companies, how do I decide between the two organizations? Because no organization is same as the other. Let me give you my example of when I got, when we were going through placements in XLRI, day one, I did not get a job. I was devastated. Yeah, I got a job day two, and I got placed with a company called Nestle. It's a food business, food company. And it was only after I joined Nestle and then I went on to the recruiting table and I started hiring from campus that I realized that when students get selected or rejected, it is not always because of what the students' capabilities only are. It's also a fit with the organization. So sometimes that is what mentors can help you also decide, saying what may be a better fit for you, knowing your strengths or non-strengths, and then helping you navigate the career, I think, is something only a mentor can do, and only a mentor in whom you have invested in building that relationship. Not someone, a random stranger may not be able to help you as much.
The other thing you said, Lakshmi, I think is very important, is to frame our questions very well. The more specific we are about what exactly I want to know, the easier it is for a mentor to respond to you, rather than give some general advice. If you have a specific question, I think it's easy to find an answer. The only thing is the difference between posing a question to ChatGPT and ChatGTP is that it's a conversation, right? It's not some information gleaned and handed over to you. It's a conversation possible. But what I say may be outdated 5 years later. I don't know.
No, absolutely. I think we are all hard-pressed for time. Every one of you is hard-pressed for time, given the busy I'm sure the busy schedules that you have. As students, the same applies for people who are working or not working even. The schedules are packed most days, right? So more specific you are, this is about learning a particular skill set versus B skill set, or is this about A company versus another company, about a particular role job versus another role? The more specific you are about your question, the easier it is, you're making it easier for the mentor to respond to and help you find the right answer. So the specificity is extremely critical. And if you write to someone online, more often than not, you will hear, I may not be the right person to answer, but here may be a couple of other people that you can reach out to. That's how most people respond. It is a lot more kinder world sometimes online than it was many, many years back, where you needed to know the person to seek help. Today, people who are total strangers will be willing to help you, but to Ganesh's point, you need to be a little more specific about what your ask is so they can actually provide you with the support you need.
So this brings me to another question about the boundaries of mentoring. All of us live in a world and a time when matters of mental health and well-being are very real, right? It's quite likely that some of us are anxious, some of us tend to get anxious very often, some of us seem to feel low and depressed, some of us feel somewhat hopeless about the future, and so on and so forth. I think it's useful to know where mentoring ends and where other sources of help begin. Do you have a point of view on that?
This is a highly complex topic. I believe it depends on where you are in this anxiety paradigm. You could start with a mentor, but for all well-being, anxiety-related symptoms or experiences, counseling may be a much better source. Unless, of course, you listened to an earlier session today, which was focused on resilience, about freeing the brain from the confines of the mind. That is a paradigm, of course. But I think well-being related challenges are getting to be better understood now.
Correct.
There could be a medical reason leading to some of these well-being related anxieties. So my suggestion would be to leverage counseling instead. And there are enough and more anonymous and named counseling support that at least that relationship can remain completely anonymous and get you the right support. So that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, absolutely. There are some things which are under the realm of what is called life skills. How do I be more confident in attending an interview? How can I say no to some friend who keeps pestering me and I end up saying yes? How do I stand up to someone when I don't want to do something? How do I want to draw boundaries to my work that I seem to be piled on with unnecessary amounts of work? On these matters, a mentor may at best share his or her experiences and some ideas, but it may be, if it persists, if that information is not adequate for making change. So the simple guideline is, if information is not helping you, right, then you need other forms of help.
Sure.
Mentoring can share a perspective, an experience, some information, some insight, point you in the right direction. But if that is inadequate to solve your problems, then I think it's important to seek other sources of help. It could be someone who is good at teaching you life skills, someone or counseling you on some challenges. I thought it was important to draw that distinction.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, if you're in an organizational construct trying to understand how to navigate the politics, counseling is not an answer. If the politics is causing stress, counseling is an answer.
Right.
Because that is about managing your response to a situation. That is a distinction to be made. If you're trying to understand the nuances of how an organization works, the politics of the place, the intricacies of the role, career conversations, how do I navigate, all of that are situations that you need to navigate. Mentoring can help you. But if you're trying to solve for how you are responding to a situation, which is to do with your emotions, your anxieties, your health, your well-being, that is not a mentoring conversation.
Correct.
That is a counseling or a medical conversation even.
Okay, one last question. It's quite possible that many of you will work in a hybrid work setting. Maybe some of you will work in a remote setting, which is actually quite sad. I've spent most of my life actually going somewhere and working, and I continue to do that, and I enjoy it thoroughly. But that's a different world. If your life is virtual, not you are virtual, your life is virtual, your work is virtual, how do you seek help? I mean, who is real? Do you need a real mentor? Do you need a virtual mentor? How does this whole thing work if my whole career started being virtual? I can't even imagine it.
Well, virtual is an environment. You are, even if I'm talking to you on a phone, you are a person, I'm a person. The phone is the virtual medium.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think one needs to get lost in the paradigm of physical proximity versus virtual proximity. Both can be achieved. When we talk to our people and we regularly survey our people, nobody wants to work in 100% virtual.
Right.
And nobody wants to work 100% office either. They want flexibility. Some days I'll come into office, some days I come into work, stay at home and work. The days, for example, I try to kind of schedule my meetings in a way that they are all in the same day. So I come into office, finish my meetings. The days that I'm talking to people who are not sitting in Bangalore, which is where I live, but are sitting in, say, Houston or London or Delhi or Chennai, those meetings I schedule on a day where I can comfortably work from home. So planning your day along with your supervisor to have a good combination, because you're right, just sitting in front of a laptop the whole day can be quite boring, if nothing else. Right. But it is the best solutions come when you're sitting next to each other, brainstorming, iterating the problem, coming up with a solution, testing it out, trashing what does not work, coming up with the next iteration. That happens when you're discussing with each other, ideally in a room kind of environment, because in India in particular, we're all talking over each other. Yeah. That does not happen well on virtual media. Right. If you're on a Teams conversation, talking over each other is highly disruptive. So it's not about, you can build networks, virtual world. My supervisor for the last 15 years has never been in the same city as I have ever been in. She's always lived in the US, I've always lived in India. She's been my supervisor for the last 15 years. It hasn't made an iota of difference to my career growth. Right. So it is about intentionality is very important. When you're in a virtual relationship, there is no opportunity to bump into you at the water cooler. I can't. Or in the cafeteria. I cannot find you suddenly. So I have to make time to meet up Ganesh. And therefore that circle I brought out earlier, Ganesh, really helps. If you know who's in that intimate circle or that you want to build that relationship, you will invest in it. So that's the challenge of this hybrid work. Okay. You have to be a little more intimate, intentional about that intimacy.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lakshmi. Delight listening to you.
Thank you
and
for your question.
Being with all of you, and I'm sure you have some great stuff going to happen. After Ambi's fantastic speech, thank you very much.
Thank you.